Now, welcome to another Star Wars Celebration special edition of News from Naboo. This time it's wrapping up day 3.
Interesting things from day 3, though not exactly from panels.
Not a ton of news, quote unquote, I don't think.
Well, you can take that quote away because I think there's plenty of
I think
news.
announcements. Let me correct that and say not a lot of announcements.
Yes, but now that the press has gotten a hold of some people, some more information has slipped out.
Are you implying they're torturing people?
We're going to start this out with talking about some of that movie news. We know we're getting 3 movies, supposedly, unless something happens and they get canceled.
If we get one, it'll be cool.
Yes. What's interesting is they're saying that the end of the Skywalker saga, many people have been wondering now, what's the fate of the opening crawl? There was no crawl in Solo or in Rogue One. It's only been, so far, reserved for the main movies. Well, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy put those worries to rest. She talked with Entertainment Weekly and said pretty frankly that the crawl is coming back. It's for movies.
Somehow the crawl has returned.
So the next Star Wars movies we're presuming are going to have an opening crawl again.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people wondering if the possibility of the Rey movie being episode 10 is on the table.
Possibly. I mean, she's a Skywalker, right? And
no
sort
comment.
of. She did actually talk some about bringing Rey back to the movies. She kind of explained why she thinks it's necessary to bring her back post the Rise of Skywalker film. She says,
choice of words.
We realized post-war, post-First Order, Rise of the New Jedi Order, we left Episode 9 with Rey making a commitment to Luke Skywalker that she would rebuild the Jedi Order. And so here we are. We're ready to do that. And it took a lot of discussion because obviously we've been developing stories in different spaces and television has been a big focus of our attention right now, but there's still so much interest in what happens after the Rise of Skywalker. So we're excited to be doing that.
Pass on what you have learned, Luke, said Yoda.
Yeah, he didn't do that very well. Even Yoda came to Sass and be like, dude, failure, man, that happens.
Look, there's a lot of hurdles for this film, but one of the biggest hurdles with a lot of fans is going to be, this is what they wanted Luke to do. So now you're kind of saying that she's going to do what Luke was supposed to do. No, my point is, she's just kind of brushing it under the rug that's what Luke was supposed to do. He promised Yoda he was going to do that, and he failed. So why should we be vested in Rey doing it? I mean, I'm just saying.
I know.
It's a very strange thing for her to say. I don't think she understands. Sometimes, this is why I always say she's not much of a Star Wars fan. I'm sorry, she's not. Because you're not understanding. That just, to me, it pokes at me. It's like, oh, well, sure, Rey promised Luke, but Luke also promised Yoda, and, well, you didn't seem to care about that when you made your movies.
I know, let's try and poke you some more. She also said it's possible more sequel trilogy characters could possibly return with Rey.
Somehow, they've all returned.
She dove into some of the themes that they will be exploring in a galaxy that doesn't have any apparent threat. She says, the question we're going to ask with the new Jedi Order and Rey is, does the galaxy need them anymore? Do they want them back? So there's a lot of food for thought in what we're doing, whether it's in the past, present, or future. She also clarified something about Dave Filoni's movie as well. But if you want to comment on the other thing first, I'll let you.
Does Oscar Isaac need another house?
Maybe.
Because he said he would only come back to Star Wars if he needed another house.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll pay him enough to buy like 6 houses.
Well, that's what I'm asking because,
No.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't necessarily hate any of the sequel trilogy characters independently. I hate what they came together and created. Well, hate is a strong word. I don't like to use the word hate necessarily. I mean, if you want to bring back Finn and Poe and Rey and try with a better writer or two, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna poke at a nerve, right? It's poking at the beehive when you're like, yeah, we have to make this movie because Rey's got to rebuild the Jedi Order. What do you mean?
Because they have to give Star Wars a future, and they haven't figured out any other way to do it.
There you go.
All right, now let's continue on with what she said about Dave Filoni's movie, the Mandoverse culminating event. It's going to encompass, as far as we know right now, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka. Interestingly, Kennedy implied we might be underselling the scope of what they're going for.
In terms of the whole Mandoverse or this upcoming film?
She said, I hesitate to say it's a big meetup from just those series. Because Dave has been developing Star Wars storytelling inside Clone Wars and Rebels, and so much of the work he has done for 20 years. So it will be little bits of all of that. There are also a lot of sources he's drawing from to see where we're going.
How are you going to bring that all together in one movie? Or should we expect a trilogy out of this thing?
Dave Filoni does what Dave Filoni does.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about just encompassing everything, like, it feels like you're just going to make a Rise of Skywalker. You're just going to throw a billion things in there and just move it at 1,000,000 miles per hour and end up with nothing at the end.
Hey, don't worry. According to Kennedy, his movie's 6 or 7 years away, so he's got plenty of time to work on it.
Wow, that feels like a long ways away.
Because it is a long ways away.
Because you don't... I mean, that just shows that they have a lot of Mandoverse to go. Because you don't want to... I don't think you would want to, like, go, like, 3 or 4 more years of the Mandoverse and have this big pause before you do the movie. You'd kind of want to lead right into the movie, right?
One would hope.
Within half a year or something. I don't think you want to leave things dangling for that long that culminate in a movie like 3 years later. I don't know. Really, really interesting to hear that. I thought it was like 4 to 5 years. I figured 3 years we'd get the Rey, and then maybe 4 years we'd get the Filoni, and then maybe the Dawn of the Jedi film. I don't know. Just what I was guessing.
Okay, let's move on. They did have the Obi-Wan Kenobi look back panel today.
Oh, you're just poking, aren't you?
Because it's fun. There was really not... I mean, there's a lot of, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, and little thises and that's, and what were your favorite moments in the filming and the show, and all that stuff. But then Ewan McGregor decided to speak. He was kind of asked about an Obi-Wan Season 2, and he says, "The Star Wars part of my life is back, and it feels so good. Maybe the audience will want more to come.
Maybe they won't.
We should do more," is what they say when he was asked. He wants more.
Well, he should demand some better writing.
I mean, maybe now that his wife's involved in Star Wars too.
Sure. I don't know. Look, if you want to do something smaller scale that actually has a bigger budget, ironically enough, do something. And that's the thing. Do we really want, like, Tatooine Obi-Wan now?
Well, now he would just be sitting in a hut, and that's what you wanted from the beginning, right?
Well, yeah, but now it's like, God, we've overdone Tatooine so much. Do we want another...
Tatooine.
I mean, I don't hate Tatooine. It's just I want to see something different. But at the same time, I don't want him off the planet.
Obi-Wan's younger days as a beat cop on Dayu.
Oh, my God. I don't know. If they did something interesting with it instead of just like this galaxy-hopping adventure with Leia. And I got no problem with young Leia or anything like that. She was fine. Yeah, she sold a young Leia pretty well, I thought. Mm-hmm. So I don't. It's not that I have any problem with that. I don't even have anything against Ewan McGregor, right?
You just didn't want those characters coming together because canon-wise, it's hard to make it work.
It doesn't work.
I know.
I just can't see how you make any... And then he lets Vader live, and you're just like, what is going on right now? I don't know. Like I said, people like it. Make another one if you want. I don't know.
Let's move into something where you aren't going to be poked.
Yay!
Andor. Kyle Solar was doing an interview, and he confirms Season 2 Cyril will move out of his mom's apartment and grow up.
Hey!
He was excited about that.
Maybe he's going to move in with Deidre. I don't know.
If you could say her name, maybe.
Dedra?
Dedra.
Well, it gets pronounced both ways in the show.
But she pronounces it Dedra, and how one individual pronounces their own name is generally how their name is supposed to be.
All right, Han.
He doesn't say his name is Han.
I'm Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
He says his name.
Yeah.
Lando doesn't respect that.
Lando is Lando, so. They asked him if going into Season 2, if Cyril and Dedra will be on a more level playing field after where we saw them last. Solar says, Tony doesn't write level. He writes characters that are completely out of balance and off-kilter and in a power struggle, whether that's within themselves, in their workplace, with another person. And I mean, that's the writing that got me into the show in the first place. Already, within a meeting of Dedra and Cyril, you have a complete imbalance of power in terms of social structure and in terms of the work structure. Whether there's another imbalance or not, I don't know. He says that last part while smiling and holding in what looks to be a chuckle, like winky face.
Come on, they got to do something with that.
But there's that friendship, relationship, union, pairing can only be frictuous. And
frictuous?
I think he was trying to say that there's friction in the relationship, but he made a new word.
Eh.
And that gets explored in a really cool way.
Yeah, Cyril really liked how they explored that.
And then they asked if he'll ever get a meal that isn't cereal, and he said, "Never give up what you love. the cereal may make a reappearance.
I hope so.
I hope so too. It's iconic now.
Yeah, it's just, he's got to be eating cereal again.
Yeah, it's cereal.
Yeah.
It's
I'm cool
poetry.
with it.
It rhymes.
It does rhyme.
But yeah, I was excited because, you really liked the ship.
I did.
Yes,
I do. It's my first ship.
Do.
It's my first ship. I don't think I've ever cared if two characters in anything ever before have gotten together until then. They're the first.
Next up, Jedi Survivor's final trailer has come out. We're just going to kind of go over some thoughts of the new images and the new clips from the trailer that I spotted, because we're less than 20 days out now? We're just waiting for it.
I got a flutter of excitement when you said that. I didn't realize it was so close. I mean, I just didn't think about it. It's 3 weeks away at this point. Less than.
There was an interesting shot of Cal fighting on a planet that reminded me a little bit of Dayu from the Kenobi series.
Cal fighting on a planet. What a
neon
shock.
Lights. I was
it did.
Ooh. It could be the Coruscant underbelly.
Isn't there some kind of Coruscant exploration thing going on?
Well, the next thing we're going to jump to is the Coruscant Jedi Temple. You see a ship flying in, and that looked really cool.
Imperial Palace, because Palpatine's
Originally, it was implied that Coruscant was going to be an open world exploration. Now they're saying you just kind of get to explore, but not open world explore.
The whole planet?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Jedi coming back to that planet is a bad idea in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Palpatine will sniff you out himself.
Probably will.
Yeah.
I want to fight Palpatine.
That would be really
I'll hold up about as well as Maul and Savage Opress did.
There's another scene. He's fighting that dirge guy.
The dirge guy, yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because you can see the tendrils that make him up. His armor must get really damaged, and you see the tendrils and everything, little things that make him up. And it was kind of creepy and weird looking.
Now you're reminding me of the guy at the Hasbro panel who was basically asking if they'd ever make a dirge action figure.
I know. But it's also interesting to note is the room that they're fighting in has one of those tubes. Like the room where we see the one-armed man release, there's those tubes. Well, there's tubes in this room, too. In this fancier, upscale-looking place that, for all we know, could be Coruscant. Probably isn't, but whatever. Just pointing things out that I found of interest. Then we see the one-armed High Republic Jedi guy force pulling against Cal like they do in Ride of
The Last Jedi, yeah.
Yeah, they're force pulling that oval-shaped thing that we know that he holds in a different trailer. So it must be really important because they're fighting each other for it. Mysterious oval object.
It's important.
Yeah, and Cal fighting yet another lightsaber wielder. This time, a dual-bladed blue blade. I know we've had the trailer where he's fighting the guy with the orange.
Red. Was it orange? I thought it was
orangey red. I don't know. Well, there's a red one he fought in the first trailer. In the second trailer, there's a guy that I thought had an orange one, which I'm probably wrong. I'll have to look. It'll be an image up there. And then now this one with a blue one. Next panel, they had the sequel villains panel, which was 90% trash.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
I thought I was being harsh towards the sequels.
I'm just saying there was no new information. The sequels are over and done with. There's not much to talk about, except for an interesting thing that Ian McDermott said. He mentioned that Palpatine's childhood was complicated, where various things happened that twisted him.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that his own little backstory that he made up? Did somebody tell him this? Was it a guy named George Lucas?
We don't know. Could we see him in the Acolyte?
Palpatine? Probably not.
No. But I'm just saying, how does he know? Are we going to get any media around young, dashing Sheev?
I guess it depends on what the Acolyte is, how long it goes on. We have a chance to see Plagueis, probably more along the lines of a Tenebrous before Plagueis. I don't know. I'm curious to see who's the big bad Sith behind the scenes in this one.
And I want to know where he got that information about his complicated childhood.
Yeah, I'm curious if that's something he just figured that had happened, or if somebody had told him, and who is that person who told him this? And
the last thing we're going to briefly gloss over here, the High Republic publishing panel that was yesterday. I forgot to mention anything from it because it's the High Republic panel.
Wow, you were just...
No, it's just I know a lot of people don't read that.
Unfortunately, it's a lot. I've said before, it's been all right.
Phase 3 is beginning in October this year because we're currently in Phase 2. Phase 1 took place how many years before the prequels?
Phase 2 has not been as good as Phase 1. I'll say that.
You didn't answer my question.
What is the question?
You don't listen to me.
200 years before the prequels.
The first one is 200 years before the prequels, and then Phase
150
2,
years more.
So, okay.
So 350 before the prequels.
And Phase 3 is going to begin 1 year after the fall of Starlight Beacon from Phase 1.
Spoiler alert.
Well, they spoiled it for everybody.
Well, yeah, but you haven't read Phase 1. You've been reading some of Phase 2.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't bother me.
Phase 1 culminates in Starlight Beacon going crashing into the planet. Spoilers.
Why would you spoil it anymore? I only knew it was the fall of it. Could have just been it was taken over or something, and now you're like...
It got fall to
You're
the
the
planet.
one who spoils it. The fall doesn't mean
You're
that it's going to crash
read those
into
anyway. You haven't been enjoying the High Republic.
I've read one High Republic book. What do you mean I haven't been enjoying it?
Well, you hated that one.
I was sad about the ending. I didn't say I hated it. I hate you. But their High Republic publishing initiative will conclude in spring 2025 with a Charles Soule book. So 2025 will be the end of the High Republic publishing campaign.
Wow, okay. So we got
maybe that
2
means there'll be
years
a Phase 4. I don't know.
I thought they just said 3.
Well, yeah, that's when Phase 3 will begin. They never said there won't be a Phase 4.
Okay.
Because Wave 1 of Phase 3 will end March 2024.
Wave 1 of Phase 3? Wow,
I don't know. There's phases and waves, and I'm just reading what I wrote down.
All right.
Mic drop.
Well, then, that is all we got for you this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.